Hello everyone. So as we've covered before, there's been a lot of drama surrounding the creator Saberspark. This stemmed from anonymous accusations made against him. These allegations were signal boosted by I Love Kim Possible a lot, and then completely ruined by I Love Kim Possible a lot. Well, the victim herself, the YouTuber EmuEmi, or Emily as we're going to call her, decided to make a dedicated video recently all about this situation. So for today we're going to cover everything in her video, and see if this changes stuff in regards to the Saberspark allegations. But before we get into that, make sure to subscribe so that I can feed my starving family. So the video is about an hour long. Obviously this means I can't cover everything in the video, but you know, I'm going to cover all the important stuff or just the funny bits. If you would like to see everything I didn't include, I'll link the video below. One thing I will say before even covering the video is that some of the top comments are calling Emily out for making conflicting statements, but we'll get into that later. With that, let's get into this.
I recognize that Saberspark may not have fully understood at the time what clear and enthusiastic consent looked like in physical situations.
I'm very confused by what this means, especially since Emily herself has gone before to say some wild things when it came to her testimony, and the explanation we got for this in the comments isn't much better. I'm now even more confused because you gave Cope and Seethe a statement retracting what you said and for people to leave Saber alone, but now you are reaffirming what you claimed? In the statement to Cope and Seethe, she still says she did not consent to the two situations, only that she wasn't going to hold his feet over the fire. But the only reason that she is saying more now is because her community was demanding a response. So you still are calling Saber a rapist, but that he should also be left alone? That doesn't make sense. Why would you say this about someone who, as you're describing, did something sexual without your consent?
I know a lot of people may have never experienced this, but when you are a people pleaser, you have a hard time A, leaving a situation, and B, stopping it once it's started.
Alright, this just doesn't sound right. A people pleaser is someone who wants everyone to like them. You're telling me it's so extreme in your instance that you'll excuse, I don't even know what you're trying to say, accidental rape?
Other things pointed out that people are claiming to be signs of consent are our flirty messages, or me telling him the sex was good a long time afterwards, in which he randomly brings up.
Are you serious? I didn't consent, but yeah, the sex was good. What planet are you from? That doesn't make sense at all.
I say that I pulled away from Saber, along with getting the time wrong during an investigation, and this is being seen as proof enough of a discrepancy that renders my entire experience fake somehow. Meanwhile, Saber gets the timeline wrong in his interview where he talks about ghosting me for months, despite having the text messages in front of him.
So, it's been a while, but if memory serves correctly, you've gotten more than just the years wrong. You could point out that Saber is getting some minor things wrong in a live interview, but you got way more wrong in a well-prepared and edited statement that later became a video. Him getting details wrong is way more excusable than you getting details wrong.
This implication contributed to Bonk being severely harassed online to the point where it impacted his mental health, which people cheered on, including people Saber himself platformed in his own response.
Choosing to run defense for Brony Fandom of all people is fucking crazy. We covered why that account and the people who run it are psychotic not too long ago. So to run defense for them in any way is an insanely bold move. It did not pay off either.
Saber also engaged with tweets suggesting I wasn't real, reinforcing that narrative.
What Saber is saying is that due to the actions of the Brony account before, he didn't think this anonymous testimony came from anywhere legit because Brony Fandom is incredibly malicious. That's what he said. And I don't think he's insane to think that Brony Fandom would lie and make up a testimony to try and paint him as a rapist. I think that's entirely within the realm of possibility.
Before Saber released his response, posts and documents identifying me as the victim were being removed from his subreddit.
You came out anonymously. Wouldn't you want less people to know that you were accusing him? That doesn't make sense. You even go on to talk about that later. Wouldn't you want more people to not know it's you instead of people knowing it's you? I don't understand what the point is here.
Good friends of Saber would email me multiple times claiming he had Skype logs that apparently were kept, while the release messages weren't from Skype and were instead text messages. Still, someone who was very aware of the fact that he had logs. His friends would also wish horrible things to happen to me. Another burner would pretend to be worried about me before my fanbase even found out about this.
Alright, These are emails from random people. There's nothing to even prove these guys have any association with Saber. She's just lumping them in because she wants to try to make Saber look bad. This is legitimately bullshit.
While I can understand Saber and his friends believing he did nothing wrong and that I am the one causing him harm, I have not once thought to torment him or his friends directly in this type of way through trying to emotionally manipulate me into talking and just outright harassing me.
You accused the guy of rape and got proven to have lied about a whole shit ton of details. How are you trying to play innocent here? Then the craziest part of this whole thing is they show off a suicide note they wrote where they called out Saber. The point of this is that they wrote it so long ago, therefore they could not be lying. But we know you lied, so what exactly does this prove?
Why would I be telling him he toyed with my emotions and talk about how I told other people he toyed with my emotions if I apparently willingly agreed to some kind of friends with benefits agreement?
Okay, why did you stay friends with someone you claim raped you for years? That's the bigger question I want answers to.
And then when I think we are just going to go up to the lobby to hang out in a more public setting because I felt it was to avoid temptation, the moment the elevator shut, he slammed me against the elevator wall and initiated the second time.
Now, throughout this video, she doesn't really provide evidence for anything. And I know I sound like kind of a dick when I say stuff like that. First of all, I don't care. Second of all, I'm only saying that because she goes on to say that Saber doesn't provide evidence, which is hilariously ironic. If you're going to call out him for not having evidence, I'm going to do the exact same to you.
I admit, I have definitely grown to be a much better communicator in the last several years.
What does that mean? I don't think you understand how that sounds. That sounds like you wanted to tell Saber to stop, but you simply didn't. If that's the case, it still wouldn't be Saber's fault. Like, when you say you are a much better communicator, the only thing I can think of is that instance you're talking about. And if that's the case, that completely ruins your argument. She then pulls up some website that talks about rape or something, I have no idea, and says that victims often forget or omit things, and since she's a victim, that's why she forgot and omitted stuff, which is insanely fucking crazy. This video should not have made it past the scripting phase. It is literally an excuse that you pulled out of your ass. Oh, I am a victim, that's why I forgot things. Here's this agrees with me. That is insanely crazy to even claim.
I wasn't able to express or act upon the fact that I felt so taken advantage of by someone I looked up to. That being said, at that particular point, that is when I pulled away, emotionally, finally.
So actually, that's a blatant lie. The DMs between you and Saber prove this, where in your last messages, you ask him why he unfollowed you. You just legitimately actually lied there.
I want to clarify that I don't use my health challenges or past trauma as a shield against criticism. Instead, I only share my health or experiences so that people may better understand my challenges.
You did earlier in this video, actually you did right there, honestly, you did just like 5 seconds ago, 20 seconds ago. You said being a victim is why you got info wrong or omitted like key details. That's exactly what you're doing. That's actually hilarious that you just tried to say that.
Living with PTSD, health problems, and hypochondria means these experiences are constantly present in my thoughts and affect how I navigate the world, including online spaces.
Some of you may have noticed hypochondria being listed just like I did. She's saying this is part of the reason that she'd forgot stuff when it came to Saber and that bullshit. Allow me to read the definition of hypochondria. A condition of extreme, preoccupying worry about having a medical disease or developing an illness. What the actual fuck are you talking about when you say that plays a part in the Saber stuff? This is why it's so hard to trust a thing this girl says, because she is diagnosed with a condition and she doesn't even know what it is. And if you do have this, it actually throws shade on your story. And if you think that her showing this isn't crazy, when we get to the baby trapping stuff, she shows off even more medical info. And I mean, I don't care, but it is insane to do this.
Into the convention on a Sunday, I remember going over to her hotel, being like, we have to get this test. Like, I need to know the answer before I head home, so I can know what's going on.
There are multiple things wrong with this. He couldn't have gone to my hotel room to do this because we already checked out of our hotel room by noon before the event ended.
He didn't say he went to your hotel room. He said he went to your hotel.
If he remembers being dumbstruck by relief, then maybe I did take one and I just don't remember that. That means the test would have had to be taken that night. We would have already known that night that the test was negative, which directly contradicts his claim that I initiated the second encounter to calm his nerves because he was anxious anxious about the possibility of a pregnancy.
No, just because you're waiting on a pregnancy test doesn't mean you couldn't have sex or initiate it, especially like the day or two after it happened. Pregnant people have sex. This is insane to claim. And why are you allowed to misremember things, but Saber can't misremember anything? Also, an interesting thing to note is that she blurred out like tweets and DMs when playing a clip from Cope and Thieves video that wasn't blurred in the original. Why exactly did you do that? Is it because they make you look bad and frankly kind of like, there's no other word, a whore? Something you are trying to say now that you aren't or you weren't or whatever? You can't try and be this picture of truth while actively hiding stuff throughout the video. That's actually hilarious.
But Saber using a moment to try to paint my intentions in a public interview to describe a horrible panic attack that ruined my ability to even watch the screening at all, as if I went out of my way to pretend I fainted specifically to target him for sympathy, is a terrible thing to do. I genuinely suffer panic attacks and struggle with hyperventilating during these attacks.
Yeah, you and literally everyone else online who makes fake accusations. It's gotten to a point that if you see false accusations, just expect this BS to pop up. Like, guaranteed. Like, if you had a bingo sheet, that would be in your free slot. Also, once again, here you are using your mental health as a shield.
I shouldn't even have to prove that I actually have these health issues, but the topic of it only grew, and I felt I needed to prove my experiences even more the more people online tried pushing the idea of me faking my illnesses.
You said earlier you're a hypochondriac. This is like a prime example of what a hypochondriac is. That's what that means.
Why are we assuming and irresponsibly accusing people of this?
Aw, geez, Emily, it must really suck to be falsely accused of stuff, huh? What a shame people are doing that to you. I mean, you'd never do anything like that to anyone else, right? You couldn't possibly fathom it.
I am a real victim of sexual abuse. While I may not have concrete evidence for this particular incident, I do have evidence for others. I would never undermine my own experiences or those of others by lying about one of these experiences. To do so would only make it harder for all of us to be heard and believed.
Alright, so now we're doing the whole appeal to emotions to try and persuade people thing. Guys, I'm a victim, and if you are too, you'll believe me. That's disgusting. This is legit what this whole thing boils down to. She wants us to believe she's a victim, but doesn't have any evidence and constantly lies throughout this whole thing. You have done everything to thoroughly ruin your credibility.
Awareness and education are vital, but so is handling these topics with care, accuracy, and sensitivity they deserve for all involved parties.
If you want people to be sensitive to your story or whatever, don't bring it online. Go to the police. If you don't want to be made fun of, then go to the authorities. This is the internet where people get made fun of. That's actually retarded to even try to say.
But I also want to acknowledge that Saberspark may not have fully understood the impact of his actions at the time. I don't think it would be easy to know given my unwillingness to communicate my discomfort and trying to maintain a sense of normality.
So, it's not his fault? You can pretty up the words all you like to. That's what you're saying. It's not his fault. This video didn't need to be made, and it's just a waste of time to even upload it. This is embarrassing.
I'm not going to convince anyone of something that they don't wish to believe, and that's okay. My story isn't a claim, it's a memory. I don't need to be believed to know what happened.
Alright, so we're taking the Boogie 2988 approach, I see. That's an interesting play. And with that, the video is over. I said it before, but that shouldn't have even made it to the uploading phase. It's full of bullshit and lies, which, unlike how she tries to claim about Saberspark, these lies are provable. I'm just confused as to why you even uploaded this. As you said, you don't have proof, and you really just trust me, bro, but you're lying constantly, so why would we believe you? The long and the short of this is that this video comes across as someone desperately trying to get this situation over and done with so her audience never questions her about it again. Despite claiming he did, Emily is the one lying throughout the whole thing. Emily has done everything possible to try and take Saber down to the point she's outright hiding stuff in her own video. To round this whole thing off, this doesn't really change anything. Saber still is innocent of whatever the hell this girl is trying to accuse him of at this point. At this point, it's just a pathetic attempt to try and ruin his life. And a bold one, considering Saber has already talked about looking into legal action, but that's just me. Anyway, that's the end of the video. I don't know. Join the Discord, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe, I guess it'd be pretty cool. Anyway, I don't know. Later.